Dusty. I think the issues they had in week 1 is something that maybe should have been fairly easy to fix. A bit of it is drafting issues. A bit of it is just like a bit of miscohesion as a team. But I think if you are given a free mid game by Vanir, then all of a sudden you suddenly have a lot more room to play with. Now, that is also to say Vanir has also had a week like everyone else to fix out their issues. And Vanir's issue was also really good, easy to fix, because it's like, we get ahead in the early game. Let's not throw.
That's
kind of the issues that we have here, right? So I think this is actually one of the games that can be super close. I think Vanir might have a little bit of an edge here, but that haven't stopped me from putting my prediction on Dusty.
You know, I like the idea that today we came into the studio like, okay, this is pretty much an easy day, no questions asked, and all of a sudden we have a lot of the games that, for instance, X7, even though they played with the kitty cats and all that.
Yeah, but what about, okay, listen to me, what about the
Yeah.
Astralis game?
What game?
The Astralis game.
Okay, honestly, Eminem played phenomenal. Honestly, they really showed up after the first week, and I just want to put that out there so it's not like, oh, Denmark lost, I'm the only one that can. Eminem played phenomenal in every role, and I just want to say that before we move into the first game.
Good stuff, Eminem. Good stuff.
I want more of that, and I want the champion select. Vanir versus Dusty, let's go. Diana is kicked from the rift alongside with Thresh. Let's see what else we can have for the B1.
I'm gonna guess maybe a Rise or a Twisted Fate towards Sahira would possibly be a next ban that we could see here, as Sahira is very terrifying on both of these picks.
And not only that, it's actually very interesting to see from the side of Vanir that they're the one to take it away here. On the side of Dusty, we're still seeing some classic red side picks, Twisted Fate being one of them. But so far, we're still looking at the 80 carries, right? It's something that's still up and available, and something that has been, very popularized to be one of the first picks. But I'm finally starting to see, like, first Jinx rotation getting punished. Seeing for teams to understand, okay, this champion is not unbeatable. Like, if she has no one to peel for her.
I've yet to see B1 Jinx, though.
That's actually true.
And now Caitlyn and Diana are both banned. Action and Vex usually could take that B1, but we haven't yet seen the Jinx.
You think a Jinx B1 is going to happen? I know they're looking at it. They fancy that.
I'm looking at it as well.
She's doing it. She's doing it.
Yeah. Hold on.
It is really risky because once again, Hecarim is available. The horse can appear.
Another rotation you could go for yourself here is just to say, all right, Thresh is off the table. Aphelios is up and available. We could make a rotation that's
Aphelios Lulu.
Exactly. That is one of the adaptations you can go for yourself, but you can also go for a jungle route instead if that's something where you feel like one of your junglers needs to prioritize something when you have 2 picks. But so far, it's looking like the first option.
Yeah, I would prioritize my jungle here because you don't necessarily have to rush your ADCs.
AD carry.
You have so many options happen available for you. I mean, the Lulu can work with so many different ADCs at this point down in the bottom. You have the Varus, you have the Aphelios, whatever you choose to go for. Plus, the opponent team is going to have to ban something else because you're going to have the red side as well. So I'm not worried that they're going to get pinned from the AD carry pool. Now, this is how Vanir is going to reply to this because you have to protect this Jinx. And is it going to be the Rel or is it going to be the Nautilus? Because we have seen both next to her.
We definitely have, but it looks like it's going to be the Nautilus angle, which of course will give you some of the lockdown when you have the ultimate on the AD carry that the opponent might choose here. Obviously, it doesn't do too much in terms of peeling against the likes of Hecarim, and there's a ton of other backline champions that can still be picked up by the side of Dusty that all of a sudden might make this Jinx lives of hell. But as you're saying yourself here, Sinsaw wouldn't be a bad pick just because of the ultimate being used both as an engage tool for the Sinsaw to dive in, but also in terms of disengage if the Hecarim finally jumps in. Obviously, you can't stop his ultimate, but if you're patient enough with it, you can still use it as a peeling ultimate.
Okay, so far I really like how these both drafts are going. I think they have a very solid bot lane from both sides. They have very solid front line as well. And if you won't die from the side of Dusty, I think they're very well rounded. Now we're looking towards the mid lane. My eyes go to Sahira. Ryze could potentially be one of these picks that would stop the Aphelios dead in his tracks. So I would expect for Ryze to be completely out of the picture. And then what are we looking? We're looking topside. We're looking Gangplank. Both immobile Eddie carries Gangplank can stop them dead in his tracks. We're looking at Camille. We're looking at Renekton. There's so many picks that can disrupt completely a team fight.
I actually find it very interesting from Dusty here that they're the one to ban away the Vex, because I think if you trim away the Heroes champion pool and you're the one to pick Vex, yeah, exactly. I thought you were going to be the one who had a better front line there, but it's looking like they still see some of these as threats, obviously very early into the season. Some mid laners have their specific comforts they want to go for. It could also be that Dusty just wants to ban away some of the good blind pick mid laners here from the side of Vanir, and then just fourth pick a top laner themselves. You can go for the Ornn, but the Gangplank, as you mentioned, still up and available as well.
So the fact that we're banning Syndra and Vex to me, spells out that they might want to go for the Corki on the side of Dusty. You have the Lulu, you have the front line, one of your carries dies, yet you have another hyper carry in the late game. So Corki could be a reply. Then you can play versus the Rise as well. It's not going to be much of a problem. You make sure you break up the team fights with the packets as well, something that can dive in with the Hecarim, but also get out. I'm done.
Yeah, but I actually think, I just don't think this is a very good adaptation into the fact that Victor is still up and available. And I think good Victor players will punish Corki in the early game. So many times we've seen over the course of major leagues that Corki has been forced to go for a Hexstringer as a first item just because the laning phase becomes so tough against the Victor. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Sahira just take the decision and go, you know what, you left my Victor open. It's in a favorable matchup. I'm just going to take this right here. Exactly. So for Dusty, that's actually a bit of a questionable decision to me, but obviously we'll see what they have prepared.
This is obvious. Pick the GP. You got it.
That is perfect. You get B5 Gangplank when you're playing against Naphelios. I don't think there's a better blind weak side that you can pick that can disrupt a fight. So right now, I'm seeing a lot of disruptors, be it the Victor poke, be it the Gangplank ultimate from the side of Vanir, and from the other side, you've got Hecarim diving in, you've got the packets coming in from Corki, and I'm expecting to see something from the side of Dusty. This could potentially also be a Camille or something else that has backline potential. I wouldn't necessarily like to see a third carry coming from the side of Dusty due to the fact that everyone is very squishy, and I would like someone else having access to the backline together with a Hecarim that can survive long enough. That someone could definitely be an Ornn. I would love to see that here.
Yeah, but it just annoys me if you're going to pick a tank that is not done on 4 and you don't... but it's fine. You have a good, solid frontliner here. GP.
R5 weak side?
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. But Sion can actually do a surprising amount of damage. Like, sometimes he will just have a solo kill out of nowhere. And not only just as a Bapus full AD.
I was about to say, well, you wanted to much sound like you.
Also as a tank every now and then. So I think that both team compositions here are fairly identical. I think Dusty's is a bit easier to front to back with just due to the fact that they have an actual tank. But on the side of Vanir, you can see the spacing in their champions, right?
I would say that I find Vanir's composition much easier to execute because the Jinx doesn't have to do much. Like, the second she gets dives, he has the Nautilus, he has the Victors, he has the Gangplanks, he has the Zinza. He has so many more tools to sort of like surround her. I think they're definitely 100% of it identical. I would give a little bit more ease of execution to Vanir, but I think it's gonna come down to how they play because these are, like Gulbok mentioned, exactly the same compositions. The front to back with the 2 hyper carries.
Both team composition seems really solid. Champion select was amazing by both of them, and both teams are trying to get another win for themselves. This is the last game of week 2, day 1. It is sad to say goodbye, but this is going to be a really good game. Over to you, casters. How are you guys feeling?
Ooh.
Can't hear you, Viperoon. Maybe you're...
Don't worry, I was actually meant to be
Oh, hi.
some things about Gulbok, which probably aren't super friendly on broadcast, but we're going into our final game of the day. It's going to be, as the desk said, 2 competitions that are very similar. We're going to see, is this just a case of skill versus skill in this matchup?
I mean, since you've got a Swedish mid-jungle duo on both sides, I would say, yeah, it's just going to come down to skill of execution because you have equal amount of Swedes on both teams, so that's like the most important factor is equal, so then it just comes down to the individual execution there.
I mean, but there's only one Brit in this game, FGG, down on Dusty, so that gives them the massive advantage, but... do you have a composition that you prefer of the 2? I know they're very, very similar. Is there anything that strikes you as being particularly good or bad about either of them?
I think it's a really good point that they are basically work very, very, very similarly. They just love to front to back, both of these teams. Maybe a small advantage to Dusty, actually, because they have some more tankiness, in my opinion. Like Sion and Hecarim will be able to stand up, like with Lulu Shields and Lulu Ulti, slightly longer to a Victor and a Jinx compared to the side of Vanir. Like the Nautilus and the Zinza won't be as tanky, trying to frontline that. But it's just very small differences.
Which is exactly what we will see from the last game of the day, because small differences means that these 2 teams, what we all thought when coming into this one, would be pretty evenly matched. I know the scorelines would suggest otherwise, but Vanir had a reasonably easy week 1. Dusty had a reasonably difficult week 1 in terms of fixture power. So this game could be very, very close. And now the teams have got very close compositions. It's going to be about individual performance and team performance overall. I'm keeping my eyes down on this bot lane, though, because whenever you've got a Nautilus anywhere, there could always be action.
Absolutely, gonna be able to do a lot against this Lulu. Has chosen to go with the Ignite. Interestingly enough, I think the Exhaust could have been a more defensive choice. But you want to go aggressively, then you want the Ignite.
Yeah, a bit of damage coming up through. The Ignite's actually been burst, but Kevo's also burning low. Needs to be a little bit careful. But Venter looking for that last shot, the flash away, but Quickstep is still in the mix. Kevo trying to put as much damage down as possible, while Nautilus just takes the beating from the bot lane. But Noodle could be coming in. First one to respond to the play already on this bot side. Is Zinzao going to be able to get the dive on through? Has flash available? Members of the bot lane do both from Dusty. Level 2 has been hit by Venter and FGG though, so this could be quite low as Quickstep goes low, but it's going to be First Blood going over the Noodle. It's a double kill for Zinzao. Perfect start for Vanir.
Perfect start indeed. 2 kills going over to Noodle on the level 2 gank on the Zinzao. That's not something that you see every day, but he was able to adapt his pathing towards that bottom side. Fortunately did start with the red buff into the golems there on the bottom side, so was really close to be able to come in for that. Also sort of have to question Dusty here, not expecting this, and also not going for the flash away there. If you just like walked up and flashed away immediately, maybe you could have done something, but instead you still use the Aphelios flash, but you die anyway, and you're not really that close to killing the Nautilus when he has that shield, so good adaptation from Noodle, being able to change his path based on what's happening on the map, but Dusty not really reading that play that well. Not a disaster in the lane though, since you're able to come back and pick up most of the farm here as Venser, so did not miss too many minions. Lane was in a pretty decent spot for that.
Question now is, what can Noodle do with these 2 kills? Because the gold was all funneled into the jungle. Elif needs to be a little bit careful as Neil putting on some poke and just going to be able to farm up this top side. We're not expecting it to be too action-packed, but the Gangplank has already made that first back to grab the cull. So this is a long-term investment up here from Vanir.
Yeah, for sure, just going to be scaling up on the GP, and I think that's a good choice against this Scion. Not going to be the crazy, the balls like Prowler's Claw, full damage Scion that's going to be solo killing or solo dying. It's just going to be the standard tank build. So GP is going to be farming pretty freely, which is definitely speaks for Vanir in that aspect. Going to be outscaling the Scion and providing a lot of damage. And also the GP ult is going to be really strong against an immobile Aphelios without his favorite partner, the Thresh, being able to get him out of the GP ulti, because late game, we're talking all of the upgrades on the GPR, like 5-6 items, that's going to be doing half HP on the Aphelios at least.
It's going to suck for him in team fights, and also it does allow Nil in 1 level time when he hits level 6 to get involved in bot lane plays, which is something that the side is going to have a much harder time doing with those changes to teleport. Noodle hanging around on the bot side. The scuttle has already been taken by his opposition, looking towards Viking, but can't find anything just yet. And we'll be sneaking around the back of the tower, maybe looking towards a dive, but the Nautilus missing the hook could well stop that one before it even begins, as Noodle has the blast code available to try and take over and get involved. Red Ward shows that he won't be spotted out, but he's just gonna walk away instead.
Yeah, Noodle really looking for the dive there. Would have been a very aggressive one to go for, but they could have done it. 3v3 fight here.
Oh, Kevo's very low though. FGG's bullying him on the side, forcing the heal out, as it's going to be a 3v2. Quicksilver is low. This is disastrous for Vanir as they lose the Nautilus, forcing the flash out of Noodle as well. I have no idea how that went so badly for Vanir.
I mean, Kevo was just zoned out of the entire fight, did not contribute anything. FGG on the Lulu with a great zoning job right there, had the Ignite up, so just forced Kevo to run away the entire fight, and I don't think they were expecting Viking to be there. Also, Viking had been just farming up completely for free, has that small advantage onto Noodle in the experience, so level 5 versus 4 also made a bit of a difference there. Overall, good set of plays for Dusty right there. Still a small gold lead for Vanir, but not as huge as it could have been with those 2 free kills going over to them early on.
Grabbing that kill, yeah, it's on the Lulu, which isn't necessarily orbital, but it's still something that you always want to get that first kill on the board, and now the Dragon is going to be the target. It will be Noodle starting that one up on the Xin Zhao, so should be able to take this one pretty nicely. Dusty have already gone for the reset, FGT in the mid lane to give Backland a little bit of support, because Sahira has been causing him a couple of concerns.
Does so much damage. Look at Noodle, he went from full HP to like a third. With Xin Zhao has a lot of passive healing, so something to keep in mind if you're going to go for Hextech Dragon. It does a lot of damage.
With Kevo and Quickzef there, just quickly able to assist, and it will be Mountain next one spawning up. So I know you talked about, actually a bit of damage coming in from Backland, but we talked about at the beginning of the day in the first one. I'm afraid that we have got the boring Corki Victor matchup in the mid lane, but Sahira trying to make it a little bit interesting.
It is looking pretty good for the Victor right here. The analyst has talked about this being a strong matchup for the Victor, and looks like Sahira is giving them, is proving them right so far. Putting down a lot of pressure on towards Backland. Has not been able to do too much. Even it's going to be, might even be forced into either Hex Drinker or an Immortal Shield Bow early on for some extra tankiness, just to not be one-shot by the Victor. So, and Victor's obviously a great scaling champion as well, especially if he's able to, in the later stages, get onto the squishier enemy members, like get not the greatest at killing tanks, but if he's able to get a flash in and get a full rotation onto an Aphelios, Corki, or Lulu, that's going to be pretty much a one-shot later on in the game. So Sahira can make a lot of plays happen later.
Whether he'll be able to do so is another question, but Dusty have moved on towards that Rift Herald. The package is available for Backland if he wants to join his friends Viking and LF on the top side. But it looks like right now he's going to be happy just to farm away and get himself ready, get himself back on a little bit more parity in terms of farm. And Dusty easily able to secure that one, no kind of contest there. And looks like these early objectives are just going to be traded back and forth.
This generally favors Rift Herald, I think, in my opinion. That's usually a stronger choice. Top lane gank.
Oh, it's just going to be Gangplank going down. That's the power of the Sun coming on through, and with Viking being in the neighborhood as well, it's really quite simple.
Yeah, for sure, able to pick that up. Not sure if it's going to be they're going to be going for the Herald in the top lane. Don't think so. Fight bot side though.
Venzi goes pretty low. Kevin needs to be careful as FGG made him big, and now Quicksilver is fighting back towards his own tower. But Aphelios, so many years of game design, picks up a double, and we'll get a tower plate as well.
Yeah, those chakrams doing so much damage when you're in close range. The faster they're able to go out and then come back to the Aphelios, the more damage it does. And that is why he's flashing in. Look at the flash there. It is to do more damage with those chakrams, able to take down Kevo right there. Wow, really well played for the bottom lane of Dusty right there. I think Vanir burning every summoner spell in the bottom lane and still losing that all-in fight. So Dusty looking to have a small advantage in the bottom lane now.
Which is something that they will definitely enjoy. Keeping the Jinx down is going to be pretty pivotal in order to deal with this Vanir roster, because as soon as she's not a priority target, suddenly someone like the Victor isn't going to be peeling away for her. Victor needs to be peeling away for himself, which is obviously something that you want to be prioritizing. If you can keep the enemy carries as slow to the punch as possible, then your composition has a lot more time to get online and a lot more leeway in team fighting. But Dusty turning up to fight again. They're still without their first win in the NLC so far. That being said, tough opening week, and coming up against the Vanir, who had a reasonably easy early week, a reasonably simple one, who are 2-0. Dusty definitely showing up to fight, and Noodle turning up to the bot lane once again, but won't be able to find anything this time with a ward.
Dusty's going to be really hungry for the win here after taking a couple of losses early on. Viking making his way towards the bottom side. I think there should be about 10 seconds left on the ult cooldown for him. Venser also 10 seconds left on the ulti. If you've got the proper guns, it could be a great gank setup for this Hecarim.
And with the Rift Herald in pocket as well, it turns from a really good gank setup into a really great play if Viking can drop that objective down and start battering away at this tower. Could even look to take it down sub 14 minutes. But it looks like Vanir are giving a lot of respect. They're hanging around in a bush, but they are covered by vision as Venza and FGG moving forward. Viking might be spotted on that mid-brush ward. And it's actually wasting a lot of time down here for a play that is yet to happen.
I think they're just waiting for Quickstep to go in, but it's simply not happening. Backlund taking a lot of damage, flashing away.
And there's the damage coming on through. Now San has moved down, but Noodle should be able to just wander back, and Vanir pick themselves up a kill. They're not going to be able to make the gank play work, but they are going to look for that Rift Herald as the bot lane is going to be a fight. The ultimate comes in from Gangbang to give a little bit of aerial support as a lot of plates are picked up. Venza needs to be careful as the ultimate lands into him, but Viking will help keep him alive. Kevin now going to be sniped out for the kill, but Vanir have reinforcements en route. Nice ultimate from Viking to break up the fight and find him a way out, but Venza might not be so lucky. He hasn't got flash, he hasn't got heal, he has got no way out as the hero grabs the shutdown. Decent play from both sides. But it looks like Vanir might have just shaded it.
It was a pretty desperate play for Dusty right there, going for a very forced gank. Well, not even really going for the gank, instead going for the Herald. We can see back in here, face checking into Noodle and also reacting sort of slowly. Not Valkyrie immediately, instead flashes after a few seconds. And then it takes a lot of burst damage, but that means he's not available for this bottom lane fight. So you can see on the minimap right now, Sinsao and Victor running towards the bottom lane. At the same time, I think Venser plays it really well here. Look at the way Aphelios uses his abilities and able to pick up a kill onto Kevo here. That is many years of game design, as you said earlier, but in the end goes down while the Viking and FGG makes it out. Still gotta say this Aphelios looks to, I mean, it looks like he's a really experienced and strong Aphelios player, but it's also starting to get quite fed, so we'll have to keep our eyes on this Aphelios as this game goes later on.
Yeah, Ben's really, really comfortable on this pick and is having a great time in even exchanges. Of course, that last one wasn't so even when members of Vanir started moving in from the mid side and was caught out and killed, but that's the power that you can provide. And Kevo, someone who had a very, very strong showing week one, is maybe struggling a little bit to keep up in this game, not falling too far behind, a little bit of farm, a couple of kills here and there, but is going to be growing into the game more and more as it goes on, because of course that's what Jinx does. But 40 minutes on the clock, game is pretty close, less than 1,000 in the lead, but it is Dusty who hold that one. They are two dragons down though with the Infernal Rift. How vital could that be?
Infernal Rift could mean a lot to the scaling department here. We have the hyper carries on both sides. Oh, here's a dive. Venser tanks.
Oh no, I don't know if Venser wants to be the one taking the tower. FGG might try to take down the tower. Will be able to do so with the help of the minions, but the life is forfeit. Surely it'll be a double kill going over to Quickstep. The leader in assists for the league wants to get on the kill table.
I mean, they killed the enemy bottom lane 5 times and still no kills going over to Kevo. It's been unfortunate. Top lane though.
Really? Trying to run away, can't be disabled and will be able to charge out. Noodle unable to make this one work. But look at this again, it's really brave from Venza.
Yeah, he goes in really deep. I think he sort of wanted to stay behind the tower so that Quickstep couldn't hook him. Or maybe it was even a misclick, like clicking on the Jinx instead of the tower starting to shoot her. Because I'm not sure if that was, I mean, just looked really weird to go for the dive in that situation.
I mean, it seems like a strange decision, but Venza maybe thought he had the burst to take down the Jinx before they could actually get the damage and then really gets him out. Unfortunately, not the case with Nautilus and Jinx ult available, as the top side will now be the focus. Second Herald has been started up. Once again, it's Viking looking at that one, and Venza and FGG have moved up towards that top lane now that the bot lane tower has been dispatched. Quickstep going to be chased away from the jungle, because while that play didn't look particularly smart from Dusty, they did manage to pick themselves up first tower at around the 14.5-minute mark, which is a pretty nice time to grab it and allows them to put pressure on this top side before Barons even spawned.
Absolutely. I'm not sure how many plates they were actually able to pick up on the Aphelios, but I think it was at least 3, perhaps 4. So that is also going to be a nice injection of gold onto that champion, having a decent lead right now. Backlund with a package right here. Not sure how long that's going to last, so he might want to look for a play quite soon. He wants to make something happen with his first package.
There, he's going to try and use it to get into a better position. Viking going to dive over the Chompers as damage coming on through. The Gangplank is trying to do as much as he can before he teleports in. But now it's actually going to be Venter who's up creek, no paddle, gets taken down. Vanir looking to chase on. FGG takes a decent chunk from the ultimate from Jinx, but doesn't go down, which means that there's no excited, there's no follow-up, and it will be Vanir just taking the one kill they could grab. But again, overextension by Aphelios.
Yeah, Venser going super deep. I mean, just looking at, I just saw there was a champion that deep. I thought, okay, is that the Hecarim? Is that the Sion? No, it's the Aphelios. What? But overall, a bit of a force, like too much of a forced fight there, and I think that's been the name of the game so far for Viking on this Hecarim. Has really been forcing these sort of ganks. We saw them in the bottom lane. We saw it right there. It's obvious for the enemy team what you're trying to do. You are on vision for at least part of the fight, so they know what's coming, and you still go for it with a Hecarim. You can sort of do it because with Ghost, with ulti, you have so long range, you can actually go really deep. But if it's obvious to the enemy team what's happening, it's usually not going to be working out at this high level of gameplay.
Dusty now going to be wandering towards the Dragon after that last fight didn't necessarily go their way, but if they're fighting around Dragon, there's no towers for Venza to overextend under. So maybe this is where they take the fight and can start pulling the game back a little bit. They're not very far behind, it must be said. This game has been very, very close, and throwing that Rift Herald down to cause some pressure on the bot side is also going to help Dusty out a great deal. It forces Vanir to either pull the trigger or respond. Kevo in the mid lane, though, just clearing out that minion wave. Does need to be a little bit careful that he's not late to the punch, but Noodle could look to try and get an engage on. He's going towards the Sard, who's a tanky customer, as the Dragon's burning lower and lower. Quixote dives in. It will be the Dragon secure coming through from Viking, who now dives onto the backline. This fight is very broken up and very messy, but it is Dusty. He will lose the first man. Viking could follow it. It's all about Vanir trying to clear this one up. Elif will be taken down into passive as Backlund has to flash over the wall. Noodle might look to follow, but it's just going to be a case of clearing up the Scion zombie. 3 members of Dusty do go down. They grab the Dragon, but was it worth it?
Vanir just able to find the picks onto Venser. I think he's died 5 times so far. I mean, they're able to kill him in every single fight, and if you're, yeah, you might be really tanky, but it doesn't really matter. If you get Nautilus hooked and then one shot before you can pretty much do anything. And Victor, we talked about the strength of this champion, especially onto the squishier members, and he's able to get a pretty much full combo down on towards the enemy backline, and then just makes it out with like 50 HP or something like that. Vanir are playing these fights really well, but on the other hand, I'm not impressed by Dusty. I think Dusty are making some individual mistakes, and they're making some mistakes as a team, going for plays that they're not supposed to, not positioning properly in these fights. So yeah, they got the Infernal Dragon, but they are definitely behind at this point.
Yeah, that player's taken it from tiny bit behind to notably behind. And coming up towards the 20-minute mark, coming up towards Baron o'clock, you might call it, is 2,000 for Vanir. And got to be saying, Sahira has had an exceptional game on the Victor, as you mentioned, but Noodle on the Xin Zhao has been pulling all the strings in this game.
Yeah, for sure. He's been in pretty much all of the fights, been able to find several picks in the Xin Zhao. It's not been looking too impressive today, but Noodle just shows why it is a S-tier jungler. It's something that everyone's prioritizing pretty much across the board in LPL and LCK. We've been seeing a lot of the Xin Zhao as well, able to go toe-to-toe with pretty much any jungler in the 1v1s early on, have strong pressure early. I mean, we saw the level 2 gank working out today, but also scaling sort of well, not in the ability to deal a lot of damage, but in the ability to create space. Like, you can just stand in front of your carries and ult, and then nothing can get at them, pretty much. And that's really the strength of Xin Zhao later on.
Which we saw a bit of in the game with Naviki and X7. Decidra was able to break up fights initially pretty well. Unfortunately, there was a solution to that problem, and X7 came away with the victory. But now it's up to Vanir if Noodle can use his decent start to propel his team towards victory, or whether it's going to be another L for Xin Zhao. And if in the bot side with Gangplank splitting against him, teleport check both are available, so they could get towards this objective. So they're actually teleporting towards the mid lane. It looks like Vanir really wants to put priority and pressure on controlling this Baron area, sending the Victor down using a key cooldown in order to have priority.
yeah, they want priority on this top side of the map, maybe to get in some deep vision. After having taken down the enemy tier 1 mid, you do have a lot of control on towards that side of the map. Baron has spawned. I mean, they do it pretty quickly with a 2-item Jinx, 2-item Victor, or sort of 2-item Victor, GP, and then Sensao can tank it for a while. So yeah, they could look for this Baron at some point if Dusty commits onto another side of the map with too many members. Vanir could also go for some sort of a sneaky plan towards this Baron with a pretty good Baron take.
Just keeping my eyes on the Baron and who's just controlling it. It's one of those times where it's just vision being cleared out of a Vanir. They want to be the ones who can have all of the information, all of the intel around the Baron if any kind of sneaky player is going to be started up. But Nil and Ilif in the bot side are still just going to be happily farming, happily splitting. They both got teleport to get involved. Of course, Gangplank Ultimate is also on the map, so it is available to just throw that one down to give himself a little bit of priority and really speed up the impact he can have in team fights. We saw it last time around. Neil is able just to throw down that ultimate before he teleports in so that he's coming in to a much weakened Dusty lineup. But Elif happy to walk in, and you've got to imagine that the Gangplank will do the same. Nil is in the river currently. The package has been picked up, and Backland could try and make this one work. Vanir a tiny bit out of position going through. Chokes need to be careful as Dragon up in 20 seconds. They want to set themselves up for Dragon Point, whereas Dusty wants to deny that as much as possible.
I think it's going to be a 5v5 fight here. We have to keep an eye on Quickset. Can he find the engage? He's been doing a really good job of it so far, hooking Venser several times, even in difficult positions to do so. Does not have the flash available, but has the Hex flash, so keep your eyes on this Nautilus, trying to find out a priority member on the enemy team, but also look for the members of Dusty to frontline and tank those Nautilus hooks, so that the backline is not
really good.
down.
Noodle goes in, doesn't manage to get the Dragon though, but is now in the backline trying to get onto backline and get some damage down. Remember, the package is still rolling. No one has fallen just yet, but the ultimate coming on through to get decent amount of damage to Viking, but they're fighting up against the wall, and it will be FGG who is the focus, but Noodle jumping onto the backline trying to get towards Venter, but won't be able to find him this time around. San has to flash away, taking the blast code out, but Sahira is there as well. Venter moves under tower, backline trying to get some damage through, but the hook doesn't connect. It will only be one victim. Dusty this time around much happier with that exchange as they take their second Dragon.
Oh, they are looking so scared right now. 4 people being very low. Does that... No, okay, my brain first thought for like 1 second, does that mean that Vanir can run to the Baron? It does not. They are unfortunately too low to be able to do that. But yeah, look at the fight here. The GP ulti does a lot of soloing, forces Dusty to split up. They're also splitting up a bit by themselves as well. Getting the pick up onto Egg, and look at Venser actually putting down a lot of damage on the Aphelios, but Noodle is so strong on this Sao that is able to live through it, and then Sahira plays this really well. Waits until the crucial abilities of the enemy team have been used, and then flashes forward, goes for an entire combo onto the enemy backline, onto the squishes, does not use his important abilities on the enemy front line, and he's been doing a really good job on Victor so far. 224 CS. He is definitely ahead here with 2 completed items. So Sahira impressing me for sure in this game.
Yeah, I mean, multiple Vanir members really impressed in week 1, Sahira being one of those, and has come into the beginning of week 2 looking pretty on form, hasn't missed the beat. He's clearly been training up over the weekend. Dusty still searching for their first win, but this game, you've got to feel they're down, but they're certainly not out. FGG needs to be careful not to get caught up because Lulu's pretty squishy. You don't want to use the ultimate on yourself, because if you do that, then targets like Venza might be a little bit more in trouble. Noodle taking a little bit more damage than he used to, maybe feeling a little bit more of a sting from Backland than he was necessarily expecting. But for now, Vanir, the question is, where are they going to want to play next? Are they going to try and make this Baron play work?
I think they're going to be dancing around the Baron, because doing so also means that you can keep Nille in the bottom lane up against the Sion here with the GP and just free farm, keep scaling on this GP, and then dance around the Baron with a 4v4, because as soon as the enemy team steps out of position, Quickset is going to be there with a hook. We know he's really strong on the Nautilus. Now he has to flash up as well. But actually, they're not keeping GP in the bottom lane. He is roaming up towards the mid, and now we have 5 members here for both of the teams. Just look at the vision on the minimap though. Control wards very deep in the Dusty jungle from Vanir, so they definitely have control on the vision right there.
Dusty are the ones in the mid lane. They've got priority there, but they've got Gangplank defending for Vanir. Meanwhile, on the top side, defending the river entrance, making sure that no one's going to be able to get towards that Baron. Decent amount of damage coming through from Zahira, but Quickstep misses the hook, so won't be able to follow up onto Sion. Viking is hanging around. The pony wants to try and engage, wants to flank. Might be able to find it if Vanir go too much further forward. The hook will land this time onto Sion, but Elif doesn't really mind that much. Decent amount of damage is being thrown through. All the CC is landing, but the Sion's still more than half health. Elif really not fussed at this stage of the game. And Vanir might have a struggle if they can only catch him out.
Yeah, the Sion is just creating a lot of space here. He's really strong, giving a lot of pressure to the rest of his team. Also, we can see the Lulu build, which is sort of weird. Moonstone is not what you usually see on the Lulu, and I think the Shurelias could have been, which is the standard item for Lulu, would have been better in a lot of situations where you give movement speed to your team, being able to dodge away from those Nautilus hooks, from the Victor combos. But the Moonstone actually working out pretty well in that fight, because you're healed when the longer fights goes on and you're sort of getting poked down, they're taking down to you down to like half HP, then the Moonstone really shines because you're healing up quite a bit during an extended period of time there. So Dusty do have some pretty decent itemization. In that regard, I have to also compliment Nelly right now for building the Serpent's Fang on the GP, reducing the shields. Very important versus champions like Sion, like Lulu, like Aphelios, and Quirky, both with the Immortal Shield bows, and Hecarim's going to be going for the Sterk's Gauge as well. So Nille, really, really important item there.
Great itemization to be picking that one up so early as well, and now this should be able to do a little bit of damage on the side, but members of Dusty threatening the player Zahira a little bit behind, wouldn't have been there immediately. As Vanir moving up towards the Baron, they're going to have to take out the vision before they start up, and that will give a little bit of time for Dusty to get involved, but they are going to start rushing this one down. It goes down at a reasonable pace, but Dusty are going to be quick to respond. They've got the package, they've got the dive coming through from Sard and Hecarim, and at the end of the day, the threat of that is enough. Vanir going to be peeled away. Gangplank half health, they start this fight up now, but looking to get a little bit of CC down onto Sard, but again, he just doesn't really care.
Are hitting the mid lane tower though, so Venser's going to be picking that up. So Vanir has to pay with something for committing onto the Baron. Nice play from Dusty there.
Dragon on the menu though, not going to be able to land another Quickstep hook as Viking starts this one up. It looks like Vanir really want to try and force something through. They get the flash ultimate coming on through. It's going to land on defense, but it goes through the rest of the team first. The first victim has already fallen, but Elif dives directly into the fight. Sarah has to flash away, but Noodle on the backline doing a lot of work, keeping backland in place. Kevo gets excited, moves towards Venter. Can he win the 1v1 with Blue Buff assisting? No, but with Noodle assisting, I'm sure he can. That's the ace. Vanir finally pull the trigger, and they're looking towards Dusty's base.
Wow, what a set of plays there from Vanir, and just looking at that team fight, every single member on Vanir just outperformed their counterpart on Dusty. Very tough jungle, mid, bottom lane, and I think that's going to be enough for Vanir to take home the W here.
Potentially, the minion wave's small, the members are coming back up, but they're juggling aggro pretty well. FGG is there, but he's the only one there to defend, and the Nexus will be falling, and it will be just like that. Vanir remain undefeated as Dusty is still searching for their first win.
What a performance there, and just got to add up both of their Swedish star players, the mid-jungle combination there. 10 kills, 0 deaths, 10 assists if you combine both of those stat rows. Really impressed by the way they were able to take this down. 3-0 now in the league.
Yeah, fascinatingly, because of the way the results have gone, of course, Bifrost losing out today, Astralis Talent losing out today in an upset, Vanir are one of only 2 teams to remain undefeated going into day number 4, which is a massive credit to them. And surely we've got to start thinking and talking about them, maybe not as this mid-table team, but definitely a competitor. We're going to jump to a short break. When we come back, it's going to be the post-show and, of course, interviews with both of the teams. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes.